So mediums of communication change all the time. Obviously, the world now with digital communication, very different from sitting down in front of someone. Are there things that supercommunicators that you think they do in a digital realm, communicating in a digital realm, that makes them better? I mean, it's when you're on Zoom is one thing, when I'm via text, it's another. I learned early in my professional career that sending emails to someone when you're pissed off actually is not a good thing to do.
That sounds like a hard-learned lesson.
Yeah, hard-learned lesson in my early 20s. It's like, no, actually, so.
It's better. Yeah, so you actually hit on what we know digital supercommunicators do so well, which is that they remember that different channels and different kinds of communication require different things. And there's actually a great example of this about telephones. So 100 years ago, when phones first became popular, and San Francisco was actually one of the hotbeds of it relatively early, there were all these articles that appeared that said, no one will ever have a real conversation on the phone. Because up till then, all conversations had happened face to face, right? Sometimes over letters, but they basically said, look, and remember, the fidelity wasn't real high. They said, look, if you can't see the person and see their expressions, if you can't hear the tone of their voice, you're never going to have a real conversation. And what's fascinating is they were right. For the next 15 years, if you look at transcripts of early conversations, because a lot of them were collected, people had no idea how to use telephones. They would use them as telegraphs. You would call up your grocer and you would put in your order and you would say, thank you, do you need anything else? And you'd say no and hang up the phone. Like there was no concept that we could have a back and forth. And then something happened, right? And by the time all of us are in middle school, we can have conversations for 7 hours a night. And they seem like the most important conversations of our life, right? We know how to have conversations on phones. So what changed? What changed, of course, is that you learned how to use phones. And we learned it without even realizing we were learning it. And even now, when you're on a telephone, you on average will over-enunciate your words by about 30%. You'll put about 20% more emotion into your voice. You aren't aware that you're doing this. You don't do it on purpose. You do it because subconsciously you know this person can't see me. I know how to communicate on a phone. I do certain things. Which brings us to digital communication, right? All of you with kids, if you dare, ask them to show you their text messages. Again, not for the faint of heart. But what you'll see is that there will be these periods when they are texting each other strings of emojis. They are having emotional conversations over text. They have learned how to have an emotional conversation over text. We don't know how to do that because we don't practice it. So the people who are really great digital communicators are the people who sit down before they send a text or before they send an email and they say, an email is different from a text, is different from a face-to-face conversation, is different from a phone call. I can be sarcastic if we're talking on the phone. I can't be sarcastic if we're emailing. If I'm upset, I should go find the person instead of emailing them.
Talk to the person.
We're learning these lessons. We're learning them slower than our kids. But the key to being good at it is just to remember it's worth taking that half second to remind yourself of what the rules are of this particular form of communication.